Hello and welcome to Lamplighter. Today is June 11. Today in our daily Bible reading, we continue to read about the history of the Israelite nation, the 10 tribes in the north called Israel, the 2 tribes in the south called Judah. Sometimes it appears that God is letting wickedness go unpunished, and so today I want to simply remind us that God is sovereign over all his creation. This story is about him, and his timetable is nothing at all like ours. In fact, God is not and never has been measured by time. And so when it seems like there are wicked people that are not getting punished, God ultimately remembers and punishes them. If you remember way back to the time when we were reading about the Israelites conquering the land of Canaan, some people have a problem with all of the battles and all of the killing that goes on there, but remember that the Canaanites had been given opportunity themselves to follow God, but unfortunately they had chosen to rebel against him as well, and God uses the conquest of Canaan to purge the nation of its wickedness, to purge the land, you might say. The same sort of thing is happening in today's reading. We've read about wicked kings. We've read about Jeroboam in Israel. We've read about Ahab and Jezebel being the most wicked people of all, and yet it seems that they go unpunished until today. God is going to be doing a little bit of house cleaning today. Now, we've got a lot of ground to cover. I'm going to move as quickly as I can, so stay with me. We begin in Judah, where Jehoram is going to finally meet his death. Now remember, a couple of days ago in our reading, we saw that Jehoram had received this mysterious letter from Elijah, even though Elijah has long been off the scene. This mysterious letter comes from Elijah telling Jehoram that foreign armies are going to invade, which of course they already have, and that Jehoram himself is going to be struck with an incurable bowel disease. We saw yesterday that he got sick. Today we're going to see that finally he succumbs to this incurable bowel disease after a 2-year-long lingering illness. All of this brought about because of his wickedness. There is no tribute paid to him when he dies. We're told that he passes away to no one's regret. How sad is that? And he's not even buried in the tomb of the kings. That shows you the kind of life and the kind of epitaph left for Jehoram. Ahaziah, his son, or sometimes known as Jehoahaz, becomes the next king. He's only 22 years old and he only reigns 1 year. But we're told that he is evil, not like his father, Jehoram. No, he is described as evil like Ahab, the wicked king in Israel. As a matter of fact, we're told that his mother even encourages him when he is doing wrong. We're told that he surrounds himself with advisors from Ahab's kingdom. What kind of advice would you expect them to give? And so Ahaziah goes the wrong direction. We switch back to Israel, where Elisha meets with Hazael. It appears that Ben-Hadad, the king of Aram or Syria, has taken ill. He sends one of his messengers, Hazael, to see Elisha and ask Elisha the prophet, "Am I going to recover from this illness?" Elisha's answer is this: "Tell the king that he will recover, but he's still going to die." Now Hazael, in an awkward moment, stares at Elisha for a long time as though he doesn't understand what Elisha has just said. Then Elisha begins to cry, and Hazael says, "Why are you crying?" And he says, "Because I can see that you're going to cause a lot of damage, Hazael. You're going to bring a lot of grief to a lot of people, doing a lot of wicked things." And Hazael says, "Who am I that I could even do such a thing?" And Elisha says, "You'll do it because you'll be the next king." Well, instead of taking the warning, Hazael goes back, gives Ben-Hadad the message, and then kills him. And of course, just as Elisha had predicted, Hazael becomes king in place of Ben-Hadad. We read about Ahaziah, the king in Judah in the south, giving aid to Joram, the wicked king of the north. And they're going to go to battle against Aram. They're going to go to battle against Ben-Hadad. Now, Joram is wounded in this battle and he returns home. Ahaziah goes to visit him to check on him. And in the meantime, Elisha calls one of his young proteges and sends him to go find Jehu. He says, when you find him, pull him aside, take this flask of oil and anoint him as king. So the messenger does just that, and Jehu is anointed as Israel's next king. His friends find out what has happened, and they lay their garments down in front of him and shout, Jehu is the king. Jehu is the king of Israel. So Jehu then pursues Joram. He comes to meet with Joram's army. He's bringing an army of soldiers. There's a man on the tower in the city who sees Jehu and the soldiers coming, and he shouts down below to those who can tell Joram, there's an army coming against you. So Joram sends out a messenger to find out if they're coming in peace. When the messenger arrives to Jehu's army, Jehu says, what do you have to do with peace? Fall in behind me. And the messenger does. And so Joram sends out a second messenger. He finds out from Jehu, are you coming in peace? Jehu says, what do you have to do with peace? Fall in behind me. And the second messenger joins Jehu. And so finally, Joram goes out to face him on his own, and Ahaziah goes out with him to go to battle against Jehu. In the process, Joram is killed, and his body is then thrown on a plot of ground that belonged to Naboth. Remember Naboth and the vineyard that was coveted by Ahab? Remember the prophecies that were made at that time, that this plot of ground is going to receive the bodies of Ahab's family? And so it certainly comes to play here as Joram's body is thrown on the plot of Naboth and his vineyard, just as it had been prophesied in Scripture. Now, in this battle, Ahaziah also flees, and he is pursued and wounded. We read about Jehu then going to the city where Jezebel resides. She sees him coming. She dolls herself up and looks out a window up high. And Jehu shouts out, is there anybody there with Jezebel that's on my side? And 2 or 3 eunuchs appear that are. And so he says, throw her down. They throw Jezebel to the ground. Her body is smashed on the ground. The blood splatters on the horses and on the wall. The dogs come up and lick up her blood and eat her flesh to the point that her body is completely unrecognizable. All of this is a fulfillment of a prophecy that was made by Elijah so many days before, or years before. As we continue to read, we find out that Ahab's princes are going to all be slaughtered. And we pick up the reading about that on page 738, where Jehu is going out to talk to the townspeople. And he stood before all the people and he said, you are innocent. It was I who conspired against my master and killed him. But who killed all these? Know then that not a word the Lord has spoken against the house of Ahab will fail. The Lord has done what he promised through his servant Elijah. So Jehu killed everyone in Jezreel who remained in the house of Ahab, as well as his chief men, his close friends, and his priests, leaving him no survivors. You see, the mission that Jehu had been sent on when he was first anointed as king was to completely annihilate Ahab's family, his extended family, everyone who has anything to do with Ahab. So when it looked like wicked was winning for a while, when it looked like Ahab and Jezebel could do whatever they pleased, now they come to an untimely end, as well as all their families. And we see that Ahab was never in control. Jezebel was not in control. Joram was not in control. Ahaziah was not in control. And not even Jehu was in control. God is in control. And this story is God's story. And again, we get back to the idea that the faithful will be rewarded on God's time and the wicked will be punished. So as we continue to read on, we see that Ahaziah's princes are massacred. Ahaziah himself is found and killed, but he's buried in an honorary way only because his father is Jehoshaphat, who had done some good. Jehonadab joins forces with Jehu, and then Ahab's remaining family is completely killed in fulfillment of the prophecy made through Elijah. So much is happening, but don't miss the fact that wickedness is answering, that wickedness is being punished. Just as God said, the righteous will prosper and the wicked will be punished. And the same is true for us today. We don't know what God's time is. We don't know how long our life will be. But one thing we know for sure, God is a sovereign God who is still in control, and God still promises that the righteous will prosper and the wicked will be punished. It's critically important for us to be sure that we're living a righteous life. Isn't it great to be a lamplighter? His word is a lamp to our feet and a light to our path. I hope you have a blessed day.